If everybody knows us, they know that we call our people furry people. They're people. They're almost human beings. They run the place. They run a dogocracy, let's put it that way. We love our family members, our furry people. Cooper, may he rest in peace. Cooper, the talk show dog. Black Labradors. I heard a statistic as I was learning, and when I bring my next guest on, as I was learning about something so powerful, I'm discovering that we could have prolonged Cooper's life because they only lived to like 12, but they used to live to 16. What's the difference? What has changed? Well, ladies and gentlemen, what's changed is the same thing that's changing with us. We're being contaminated with toxins in our water, in our food, and our life expectancy over time is going to go down even further. Same thing happens with the dogs. Now, the dogs, the cats, all of our beloved pets. Let me tell you something that's so remarkable here. If you recall President Trump, when he went to the podium, when he was 45, he used to mention hydroxychloroquine, ivermectin, and he was attacked. Now we know why, because of the emergency use authorization. But guess what, ladies and gentlemen? I became an ivermectin smuggler. Literally, I will just admit it openly. As a matter of fact, I'm a law-abiding citizen. I'll call the DOJ and let them know I smuggled ivermectin. I wanted to stay alive. I found out that with the doctor's prescription of that ivermectin, that I could actually, with early treatment, live. And that was a beautiful thing. So I'm guilty as charged. But then I discovered that you could go, and I found out from good friends in Idaho, that you could go to the feed store and get ivermectin. And if you had the proper, balance based on your weight, that you could actually administer ivermectin over the counter at your feed store. And then people started coming up with formulations. Now, imagine ivermectin, as Joe Rogan publicized, they called it horse paste. And there was that big debacle. And he had to push back on that because of the big pharma. They couldn't have you going to the feed store to get horse paste or ivermectin at the feed store, because big pharma must have the exclusive distribution rights. That was upsetting to me, that's available. They suppress that information. It's available to everybody, and it was on the shelves at the time when it was needed most. Then I discovered, I was introduced to something, and is it miraculous? Absolutely. Is it a cure for, using the term cure? The Coriolis versicolor mushroom. Is it going to cure any? When I was having a discussion with my good friend that I've had for years, he started telling me about this. He said, you know what? The Coriolis versicolor mushroom, when we say boost your immunity, could you imagine, ladies and gentlemen, that before, when we had aluminum and barium being sprayed over us, our body was expelling it and is expelling it, and it wouldn't take hold. Our body's natural response to an outside foreign object is to push it out. Well, what they did to overcome that, they developed nanoparticulates so that our bodies would take hold of it, and whatever it was that they were spraying would stay in our bodies. Okay? Now, imagine if you had, with a Coriolis versicolor mushroom, this is the key, and you're going to hear about how this was discovered, that if you build up your body's immune system with this mushroom and you push out all of those, I'm going to use the toxin, aluminum and barium. It sees that. And your body's immune system's just pushing it out. Is it curing anything, or is it preventing it from taking hold? That's what we're going to talk about with my guests, Kurt and Kristen Ludlow, who made an amazing discovery here. They're the founders. This is a big, grandiose introduction. I think you know and you feel that I'm not only truly excited about this, but I've got a track record of learning about stuff like this and providing the truth to our audience. Welcome to the Santilli Report, the Pete Santilli Show. Kurt and Kristen, welcome.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, we are super excited to be a part of what you're doing here, Pete. And What a great day to be alive, right? After
Oh my
all the
goodness. It really is. And we have to highlight this. You can feel it the past 24 hours, actually since November. We said, oh, whatever it was that we felt a sense of relief, just a lifting of the burden, the pressures upon us, suppressing information, people dying. I mean, health freedom advocates were treated like, just the lowest of life forms. But when President Trump, when we voted him in, we felt a sense of relief. But yesterday, I mean, I can't even describe. I mean, he went to work right away. Promises made, promises kept. Have you looked at his executive orders? Can you imagine what RFK Jr. is going to do when he gets into these bureaucracies and just starts cleaning house, discovering the truth, and moving forward? Can you imagine?
We're so excited. It literally feels like God has parted the Red Sea again, and we're all just walking through into freedom. That's just how it feels right now. It's so exciting. Blessed.
I want to begin because people are like, oh, Pete Santilli, is talking about, he loves his pets. Well, does everybody has pets? Everyone loves their pets. If you're tuned into the show, you love your pets. Okay. What does that have to do with, and I use the example, I hope you don't mind me doing so. I hadn't even talked to you about this. I don't mean to catch you off guard, but I'll never forget when I discovered from my friends in Idaho, they're like, oh, we just run down to the feed store and go get our ivermectin. I'm like, what? And they told me that it was available over the counter. And I was right about the time when Joe Rogan was talking about horse paste. But is that not true? That's available and it has been available?
100%. We went down to the feed store here in Las Vegas, and that's where we got it.
Yeah.
Right out of the tube. Yeah.
So that discovery, okay, we're treating our pets and our animals, our farm animals, with something that's available over the counter. And there was a discovery that, oh my goodness, if it's going to work for our pets and our animals, what impact is it going to have? It's an anti-parasitic. And I'm not going to get into the technicalities because I'm not a medical professional, but can you imagine a self-replicating chimeric parasite, and ivermectin as an ivermectin is the anti-parasitic. So it was helpful and instrumental in early treatment, was it not, ivermectin?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. It's kind of funny because
go ahead.
I apologize. Our experience with the Coriolis versicolor mushroom that you were talking about was almost the opposite. Like it was tested on people before we found out it was safe for animals.
Is that true? I was going to ask you that. Was the discovery, and that's what I want to do. I'm going to, this is I'm long-winded sometimes, but I'm very, very passionate. So I gotta get it out. But I'm most intrigued by how you made these discoveries, as I discovered, these things without being an expert. How did you run into this? And you're the founders of Pet Club 247, and now you're advocating for taking care of our beloved pets and fellow human beings. How'd you make this discovery? How did that start?
A great question. And so this, almost 28 years ago, or close to it, one of our partners here with Pet Club, his mother was experiencing an issue in her lung, and she was attending Sloan Kettering out in New York. And they did everything they could medically to help her with that issue. It ended up metastasizing, and unfortunately, they gave her months to live. So he did like any son would do. He started to inform friends and family of her circumstances. And his cousin that was in the medical field out in Japan said, listen, I want to send you something. Give it to her, and let's just see if this helps her out. And he sent it over. It was a mushroom. It was in capsule form. She started taking it, and she noticed quite a bit of difference in the way she was feeling after 30 days. Another 30 days goes by, even more improvement. And after about 3 months on this mushroom, she felt like there were no longer any issues. So 4.5 months after they diagnosed her with just months to live, she goes back to Sloan Kettering, and they find that issue to no longer be there. And of course, as you can imagine, they were flabbergasted over it. They wanted to know everything that they could about this. She was able to obtain the information from her nephew. They gave it to them, and they started to research it. And that was really where the first clinical study started about this here in the U.S. And now it's expanded to MD Anderson, the American Cancer Society, Loma Linda, Harvard. It's published many times in the Library of Medicine. And what they concluded was this: it didn't cure, it didn't mitigate, it didn't prevent, but what it specifically does for the immune system, there's really nothing out there. Nobody can refute all these studies as to how it gets it working optimally again. And if you can get your immune system functioning optimally, it's capable of resolving any type of issue that your body could be dealing with. And so for years, they would refer people. I mean, if that happens to a family member, you're going to tell everyone to listen about it. And they started getting the craziest of reports back. Even people would take it that were healthy just to, stay proactive versus reactive. But people that were dealing with different types of things, it didn't matter what it was because it stemmed from the immune system. They were getting the most amazing testimonials back. And so at that point, they were like, look, what can we do to bring this into the U.S., North America, South America? Because it's taken, close to 3 weeks to get it here from Japan. They were able to formulate that. And for years, they were getting it out for humans. And what ended up happening is just over 8 years ago, our partner Steve and Gino both had lost a dog due to cancer, and two of their children just within months of one another. And they, sitting on this product, they knew what it was doing for humans. They said, God, what a cutie. They said, I wonder if this mushroom is safe for animals. And sure enough, they found a study done by the University of Pennsylvania on this specific strain. And understand this strain that we're talking about here, of the 200 plus strains that are out there, is the most potent strain you can find. But there's a proprietary way that they extract it, which brings better efficacy. And this is why the amount of testimonials and things that have occurred from that. And so they found that it was safe for pets. They found that the dogs from this study that were dealing with a very aggressive cancer were living 3 times as long as the dogs that were not on it. And so they knew that they had something. They contacted us at that point and said, hey, look, we have something we believe is going to just do some amazing things in the pet industry, potentially change it as we know it. Yeah. We want to to you, give it to your dogs. Now, we had a dog and a cat at that time, very young. And I told him that. I said, they're healthy, they're young. He said, look, you're going to notice some things. You of course, want to be proactive versus reactive, but you're going to notice some things in their coat and potentially their demeanor. Just give it to them. And 3 days after we received it, Pete, I get a call from not a call, but I see a friend of mine post on social media, a close friend, that he had to put his best friend down. And so I called him. I said, hey, what's going on with your dog? And he goes, well, she's had a very bad autoimmune issue for the past 5 years. He said, it's so, and we dealt with it. And he said, in the last year, it got so bad that if she went outside and she would hit the pavement or the asphalt, it would pull her paw pads off. And so we had to keep her on the grass. But in the last month, this immune issue has gotten so bad that it's caused all her hair to come out, is just coming out in clumps. Her eyes are completely whited over. And he said she's got 7 tumors down her side. 2 are the size of his fist, he said. And he said the vet didn't diagnose him as cancerous, but the vet believes that they probably are. And he goes, look, Kurt, she's 14 years old. She's a husky. Huskies normally live to be 12. And he goes, I'm just not ready. And I said, well, she's still eating. And he said she is, but we carry her outside to use a restroom. And I said, well, listen, I've learned of something. I trust the people that brought it to me. They've told me the results they're seeing with animals over the past 8 months. Would you be willing to maybe give this to her? And he said, of course, we'll do anything. So we take it over. And it's funny, Pete, his name's Kurt, just like mine. And I see him calling. This is 3 days afterwards. I see his name on my phone. I'm like, hey, Kurt. And he goes, what did you give my dog?
Really?
He said it in a tone he had never used with me before. And so I was like, oh, no. I said, is everything okay? And he goes, Kurt, Zenta just jumped on the couch next to me.
Wow.
And I said, amazing. And he goes, you don't understand. She hasn't done this in over 1.5 years. And he goes, you think it could be, this mushroom? And at that time, we just had it in a nice treat, we call it a supplement treat form. The mushroom's in there. And I said, Kurt, to be frank with you, I've heard a lot of incredible things about what this is doing, but I hadn't seen it for myself. You're the first person we actually gave it to that had an animal that was dealing with something like yours. And he goes, well, it has to be. I don't know what else it could be. And every day the improvement was just unbelievable. And
Wow.
she was going out to the restroom on her own after right around that 30-day benchmark. The paw pads weren't peeling off anymore. All that crystallization in the eyes was broken up. She was actually seeing better. The hair wasn't coming out in clumps. The tumors, they were all gone between 4 to 6 months later. Now, Zenta, a long-term story of this, lived to be almost 20. She passed away before her 20th birthday. So she lived another years, yes. And her way of life was phenomenal. And so we started seeing those types of things happen. We saw elderly dogs that, were no longer, jumping in their favorite chair anymore, no longer running up and down the stairs and not playing. And they would get on the mushroom and they would see their energy levels increase in such a way that, they were running around like they were years younger again. They had no problem doing those things. And it was just amazing to watch how this product progressed for our pets, and it's been just really exciting.
By the way, Kurt and Kristen, I just want you to know that this isn't just some cheesy prop. Everybody that knows us knows that this little girl and our. By the way, you just gave a new meaning to the word referral. That's funny. Okay. Well, we are such dog lovers. Cooper, the talk show dog, had him since he was a puppy. He literally would sit here in the studio, and he would know from the music and my demeanor when the show would end, and he'd wake up, and he knew that it was time to go out. So they've been a big part of our life. Her name is Callie. Callie, I used to call her when she was a puppy chewing on, and now I call her C-SPAN. Okay, she's a little troublemaker, but you are the most beautiful. She's my girlfriend. 2 weeks ago, spunky. You know how Cocker spaniels are. Beautiful, beautiful. Now, you want to get down? We discovered, and she's healthy. She's a puppy, just a couple of years old, right? She was upstairs, and I watched her go outside. It had just snowed. She went outside and just went out in the snow, gushing red blood coming out of her backside. And I said, oh, my goodness. I mean, it was just a very traumatic thing. I don't like when our babies, suffer like that. We took her to the hospital right away. It turned out she may have had some abrasions. I guess Cocker Spaniels get that stuff. But my point is, I'm not very composed, or say, oh, let's just take our dog down to the hospital. I mean, this is our family member. I don't want her to suffer like that. I want her to be healthy, and I want her life to be longer. Like with Cooper, he had nodules everywhere. He had dysplasia. It was so sad in the end. And to tell you the truth, when I was introduced to Coriolis versicolor, there's no doubt in my mind that we would have done everything possible to build up his immune system, to prolong his life. We went through a couple of phases where our veterinarians, oh, by the way, when you go to a pet hospital, you know what I noticed? Those people are nicer than the ones at the regular hospital, at the people hospital. It's amazing how compassionate they are. But our veterinarian, he was at a point where they were considering end of life. You know how they give that piece of paper? It's just terrible to even consider that. And she said, but I'm going to try something. And 8 months later, we came in with Callie in there, and he's running around. She goes, he's still alive? She was amazed. She tried everything she could, but she didn't know about this. I'm literally going to that vet, to that local. I mean, they're like family members to us, and I'm going to introduce them to Coriolis versicolor. All right. Now, sir and ma'am, I want you to tell me at what point, did you start realizing, and it's not a cure for anything. I understand the concept. If I build up my immunities, I push out. The only time I took a vax was when I was in the military. And I was really about building up my own personal immunities. And would get a couple sniffles and cold and stuff like that. But I knew how powerful my immunity was. And I always used to push that stuff out. When did you discover the power of the mushroom?
Well, before I turn it to Kristen, because she's certified in pet nutrition, she's the perfect person to ask these things. What we found out is as much as 65% of our pets are getting cancer today. 1 in 3 allergies, 6 million new cases of diabetes every single year, using human medications to medicate them. And our pets are living half as long as they used to.
Are you kidding me? Is that 65%?
As much as that, yes.
There's a documentary called The Truth About Pet Cancer that, 1 out of 1.65 pets get cancer.
That's outrageous. Yeah.
It's just through the roof. And, in the 70s, the average age of a golden retriever was 17, and the average age today is 9. And, we just knew we had to do something about it as a company. Mm-hmm. We love our pets. They're our family members, just like you do, Pete. And, we spend more on our pets than we spend on ourselves,
Yeah, don't tell anybody.
Yeah, right.
We do.
This is a passion of ours, and they're over vaccinated. It's just crazy how all of that has changed throughout the years. And just like, what's happening, with humans, the owner of the LA Times had just put out something that was just crazy to see, but we all knew this was going to happen, that the first time ever they saw a 8, a 9, and a 10-year-old with colon cancer, a 13-year-old with metastatic pancreas cancer.
Yes.
I mean, crazy things that are going on, but the same thing's happening with our pets. And, it's nice to have something that does what it does for the immune system. And, Kristen, anything that has to do with the pets, she is the person to speak to. And so we're very fortunate.
And Kristen, I'm going to lead off with my question to you by loading it in the following way. There's not a lot of money in keeping people healthy on their own at home, is there? Is it by design? I mean, I hate to be a conspiracy theorist, but you can probably speak to this a little bit more intelligently than I can. There's not a lot of money in keeping, us off of chemotherapy, is there?
Right. And whether it's intentional or not is kind of irrelevant because it is what it is. And we are where we are today. And veterinarians make 34% of their income is through pharmaceuticals. And so we're seeing this increase. I watched a great documentary called Pet Fooled, PETFOOLED. And you see this huge, loosely regulated industry, the pet food industry, that's doing over $100 billion a year. And there's been such a big compromise in the ingredients that they've been putting in these foods. 90% of the foods are manufactured by only 3 manufacturers, Mars, Smucker, and Nestle. And what are all 3 of those companies? Candy companies.
Yes.
So why are there sugars in anything that we're giving our pets? It has no benefit to them nutritionally. It is solely to create dependency, a chemical dependency, an addiction, so that our pets will overeat and then will overbuy. And as they're eating all these preservatives and carcinogens, because these foods are baked at high temperatures, and they're eating all of these chemicals and fillers and just all of this garbage, it's no wonder there's this epidemic happening and so many of our pets are getting sick and they're living half as long as they used to. And again, whether or not this was all the plan from the beginning and it's intentional, doesn't matter because they've been compromising little by little over time, and these little small exchanges for quality ingredients to fillers have compounded to the point now where it's no longer even considered food anymore. It's no longer categorized as nutrition.
That's right.
Many cases categorized as medicine.
Yeah, and those fillers. And again, you know what? It doesn't have to be intentional. I say, even the stuff that's in our water. We're so concerned. When I found out the filter says what it takes out of the water, and I got upset when I read it because I said, that's what's in our water? I'm like, you're going to take this out. But I'm more concerned that it was in there, from fluoride to, to carcinogens, essentially. So my philosophy has always been, you know what? We can't sit here and worry about, them poisoning us in the water. We're not going to stop them. But guess what? We can block it. We can filter it out. We can't stop them from making poor quality food at Walmart. What do they call? Oh my goodness, God forbid, if you feed your dog Old Roy or whatever that stuff is, it comes from China in a bag. I mean, is there any nutrition in such a thing, right? We can't stop them from adding those fillers, but we can
No.
improve upon the diet, can't we, of all of our pets?
And we can be intentional with where we're spending our money and who and what type of practices we're supporting. That's the biggest
That's
change
right.
that we.
That's
And
right.
so we're really educating people right now. There's this call, and I love this community. I love your community, Pete, the people that
Oh yeah.
listen to. We're all doers. We're not the kind that complains and argues and sits on our hands and does
That's right.
nothing about it. We're all contributing. We want to be contributing citizens. So there are things that we can do to change the way that pets and people are being treated.
That's right.
And that starts getting educated, becoming aware of
Now,
what's been happening.
You're going to have to forgive me what we're going to do, because it's a 1-hour segment on live LFA TV. And as I told you, we're going to go over the top of the hour here and continue on. So everybody else stay put. If you're on LFA TV, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us each and every day, 4 to 5 p.m. Eastern. We're going to take just a brief little reprieve over the top of the hour and come back with Kurt and Kristen. Everybody else stay right there. We've got some really powerful, important stuff to talk about on the other side of this top of the hour. We'll be right back.
Welcome to the circus.
Am I the only one that doesn't buy into the lies? Am I the only one that doesn't wear in the skies? 'Cause if I can't break it and I can't change it, then tell me how will I know? Am I the only one that isn't just here for the show?
Ladies and gentlemen, as I come from the last hour, our community. What is our community? First and foremost, I'm unapologetic. I'm here, unapologetic in my faith. I'm working for the King of the universe. I want to do God's work. And across the bottom, the URL I selected to point towards Pet Club 247 is Pete. Pete loves life. I do genuinely love my fellow human beings. I love to provide them with truth. I'm a truth seeker, a truth teller, a godly warrior. I have almost X-ray vision, when you're lying to me and it just doesn't feel right. And I've got that level of discernment, and we share it among each other. We do. We share it. And that's, I think, what our community is all about. So, when I said that the pet hospital people are nicer than the human hospital people, there's a reason for that. And they all said, oh, yeah, you're absolutely right. I said, people in the regular hospital need to come over here and work. Like, they shouldn't even be hired at the human hospital if you can't have the compassion. We love life, don't we? We love life.
Yes, and you said it best. God has asked us to be good stewards with what we have and to take care of creation and to love life and to respect it and to facilitate it. And that's what's happening right now. This golden age that we're moving into, this golden era that we're moving into, is this restoration of life, this restoration of creation.
Amen.
We see this Maha movement, Make America Healthy Again, but we're also like, let's make animals healthy again too. Let's continue to pay this forward. So as we know that these things have been happening now for several of decades, in some instances hundreds of years, that these products have been sold to us, compromised. There's an attack on the immune system. There's an active assault happening against the immune system right now, because it is known that the immune system is incredibly powerful. It is the body's first defense against the smallest of things like colds and viruses and flus, all the way up to the most catastrophic things, especially that our pets are dealing with, the cancers, the autoimmune, whatever it may be. The immune system's always your best bet. So we should be feeding it the proper foods. We should be feeding it the abundant foods that God has created for us, that are found out in nature everywhere for us. That's what the body should be eating and metabolizing so that it can function the way that it was intelligently designed to function and work optimally, which will not only increase the quality of life for our pets, but also our own quality of life, which then, of course, brings us all closer to God, because it's hard to contribute. It's hard to fight for anything if you don't feel well. or if you're depressed, or if you're anxious, if you're afraid or uncertain of the future. These are all things that stop us from pursuing our calling and stepping into our purpose. So if we can take control of what we can't control,
Yes.
we know that the micro creates the macro. If we can get back our sovereignty just over our own bodies
That's right.
and our own bodies in our own households, and then let that ripple out, that's really the method that changes everything for everyone. But it comes down to people like you sharing the truth and encouraging people to take that step to do something different and use the discernment that God's given us, that we've very much so honed over these last 4 years. If there's anything, if you made it through that psychological attack and came out on the other side with truth, then you know that that's the discernment, right? That we had to exercise and really hone that discernment. And so we all got to work together and really push this forward. And we kind of joke all the time, but it's actually true. We feel like David and Goliath, right? Like it just feels so big. The water, the air, the lotions, the toothpaste, the food, like everything's out to get us. Everything's out to hurt us. What can we trust? Where do we go? Who has the real answers? And at the end of the day, it's just this big giant that was like, how do we overcome, we the people, the little old us, overcome this big giant? And God has really given us the answers in
Yes.
a lot of different ways. And, we take this little mushroom, put it in our little slingshot and fling it at the giant, and know that, through faith and through obedience, that God's going to knock that giant down. And pretty soon, all of these conditions that our pets and we have been struggling with will be considered conditions of the past. And we'll say, remember when this used to happen? Remember when that used to happen? And God saved us from it all.
Yeah. Just one example, but it's relatable here. One example of what they, insist on, like Tesla, for instance, free energy. And this is important because President Trump is going to open up the possibilities of energy for everybody, for our benefit, not to, strangulate us with $5, $7 gas at the pump. It's insanity. When Tesla came about, he had the ability, there's electricity in the air, in the ionosphere. You could pull it down and you could provide electricity to people. Edison and Chase said, oh no, we can't put a meter on that. You can't have free energy. So they put us on this pay forever scheme, right? So I say this, making a discovery that a mushroom that is readily available, or foods that are good for you that you could grow in your backyard or obtain from Japan. God forbid if you were to do that on your own, you people, you must go through big pharma. And that's really just what we're suffering through right now, is if they can't sink their hooks into it, and put a meter on it per se, they're working against us, aren't they?
And that's how they keep control, is by creating this illusion of scarcity, which is an illusion. There is no scarcity. There's an abundance of everything that we
So
need
beautiful.
around us. And so the moment that we realize that it's all been an illusion to control the system and to control the game and to make us play it the way that they want to play it, when we break free from that, then we realize, oh, that's not really how it is at all. And we have the ability to change the rules of the game and play it our own way. And that's what they're most fearful of, is for us to realize that and start acting on it, and that we can actually bring peace and unity and provision and all of these things abundantly to mankind and to creation. And it's just a matter of breaking through that conditioning, breaking through that programming that we've been taught since childhood otherwise, that we had to rely on this, we had to rely on that, and there's only this much of that, and so we have to ration it out. That's not the way it is.
No. And you know what? A couple of things we should always focus on and be God-centered in our approach to this. And I can prove up a couple of things, that when I was born naked here on planet Earth, I was really smart, and I was probably the healthiest I had ever been. And that's the beauty of God's creation. And I've been co-opted ever since, right? Then, of course, the government has always been, or some outside authority has always been trying to have dominion over me. And I can prove it. In God's law, look at Genesis. We shall have dominion over right, to take over. Not the government. I mean, it's God's law. It was written. You can try to dispute it all you want, but you can try to disprove, Jesus's existence. You're not going to be able to find it. He exists. God's law is there, and we were born in such a beautiful form. Yes or no?
Yes, yes. And where the Spirit of the Lord is, there's liberty. That's where the freedom is.
Yes.
Not
All right.
from the government. No one gives that to us but God.
I'm holding you way over here, but I'm so thirsty for information. Okay. Now I need to be able to, I told you I was going to, once I find a discovery like that, I say, hold on, as a skeptic, as we all should be, okay, we should never let our guard down, folks. Even if President Trump says, I'm going to set up a government and we're going to do everything for you, and it's going to be for your benefit, what happens when he leaves? We need to set ourselves up to be on guard, to take care of ourselves. Everyone worry about your residence, your street corner, your zip code, your counties, and that's where our strength is going to come. So through word of mouth, I want to really revitalize the spirit of entrepreneurs and entrepreneurism. I want to be able to share and connect information. That's where President Trump's strength is going to be, is us being knowledgeable and active, okay? So you'll also need to be educated. And when somebody, when the government tells you, oh my goodness, 14 days to flatten the curve and don't worry about the Pfizer injection and the multiple, you got to look into it. What are the ingredients? What am I inserting into myself? And do I have an option to bag out? Don't go by what the government says. So when I do research, and I say that I do research, there are literally scientific papers backing up everything that you guys claim that the Coriolis versicolor mushroom does, correct? I want to overemphasize that point.
And Pete, it's not our company's scientific advisory board that we pay that say these things. These are third-party studies, and understand
400 published studies.
Absolutely, and understand, this mushroom does not interfere with any medications. You can't overdose on it. You can't get addicted or take too much. It's like
No
eating
side
a
effects.
mushroom on a pizza. And
Right.
if someone's dealing with an issue, or they just want to stay healthy, we always recommend, our Enforce, which is the Coriolis versicolor. It's called the Enforce. And take one for every 50 pounds. If they're, looking to resolve maybe an issue that they feel like isn't right with them, they might try doubling up for a month or two and see, how they feel there. Or if they're dealing with something, more severe, maybe more catastrophic, we always recommend try 10 a day. And just see, usually they have the ability to get some blood work done to see their progression and monitor that way. But, if you're healthy or you're taking it, you normally feel, you just feel younger. You feel so much energy. You sleep better. You see a lot in here start clearing up. And it's been beneficial for people that unfortunately, have had to succumb to some of the things that they did not want to have to succumb to over the past 4 years. And it's just a great product. Now for our animals, all the feeding instructions are there. Kristen can recommend some of those products there, but they're incredible. And yes, we are a pet company, but we sell the human product there because people would see in their pets the results that they were seeing. And they're like, this is not a placebo effect. This stuff works. How do we get it? And so even though we've been selling it, away from this pet site for years, we decided to add it to it so that people could just get it there all in one place.
Listen, I want everybody hearing my voice right now, and I'm using this analogy, and folks, if I hope it'll make you feel uncomfortable by attaching it to this thing with the ivermectin stuff. I was so upset when I found out he's like my little brother. I found out that he could go get ivermectin at the feed store. And this is the same thing, folks. I mean, you could literally benefit, right? Where, of course, it was the other way around. What benefited humans worked great on pets, and vice versa. We should know this. It should be, 24/7 on the. Remember back in the day, Peter Jennings, we bring you this special report. There's a major discovery here. We should be telling the whole world about that. But of course, media is controlled by Big Pharma, so it's not. So we have to, through word of mouth, relay this information. We must do this. I'm not only very passionate about it, I love life. I want to stay on planet Earth as long as I can, enjoy my family members and do the best I can while I'm here. And I want my pets, our furry loved ones, to be with us as long as possible. Right? It's that simple.
Yeah. So, that's why we have the saying, every pet, every person, every day should
Period.
be eating, period. And what's unique about it, like Kurt mentioned, is it's just a food. There's no toxicity. You can eat an entire bottle of Inforce and nothing will happen. Your stool might be a little darker or something. So it's such a gift that God has given us. We try to be good stewards of it. We try to share it with everyone that we can. And if it resonates with you, give it a try. Just try it and see what happens, especially if you're getting testing done regularly. You should see the numbers changing. If something is progressing, you'll notice that it's slowing down and then it's reversing. These are things that you'll notice that your immune system is doing in your body. And what's unique about it, because we get this question a lot, people will ask us for their pets or for themselves. They're dealing with a very specific condition or a very specific health concern. And they ask, will it help with this? Will it help with that? And the answer is very simple. It supports the immune system. The immune system repairs and recovers the body. It regulates hormone. It rebalances the system. It literally puts every other system in good standing. It's responsible for it. And we've been so conditioned to treat the symptom, to, treat this condition, but we never go to the cause. Like, what changed? What's the source of this symptom? Where did this come from? What was the change that happened in the body that created this symptom in the first place? Like, blood pressure. My blood pressure's high. So we give them stuff to lower their blood pressure. But what created the high blood pressure in the first place? Because lowering the blood pressure never fixes that. It never addresses that original problem. But when we feed the immune system is so intelligent. It goes directly to the source of whatever created that symptom or condition in the first place. It addresses it there. So that it's not just this constant battle of managing symptoms. There's actually the body restoring itself and rebalancing itself once it has the food that it needs.
I remember when Hernan first brought this to me, and I had a conversation with him. And ladies and gentlemen, the light should come on for you right now. Imagine, like if you were to say, it cures blah, 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 right? Like cures cancer. I'll say, it cures cancer. Well, hold on a second. Let's go back to your immune system, like the nitric oxide product that has ingredients in it that offsets the depletion of L-arginine because of the bioweapon. And you can't consume enough food to offset that deficiency. So we take supplementation, right? So as it relates to cures, well, you attack the body's ability to fight off aluminum, barium, whatever it is that comes in that's foreign to your body. If you attack your immune system, you're off in the corner focused on curing XYZ. How about this? How about just let your body do what it does and just push it out? Push it out.
Yeah.
You're not curing anything. Your immunity is beautiful, and it has been. I've lived my entire life that way. The most powerful drug that I took my entire life, two things: Alka-Seltzer plus cold medicine and ibuprofen. My whole life.
That's amazing.
My entire life. No vaccines, none of that stuff. But what was the strongest benefit? My immune system was solid. You could literally fire, flu darts at me and, right? You remember our moms used to take us to the neighbor's house to expose us to chicken pox?
Yeah.
Back in the day. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now we're being injected with something that, like, we're definitely introducing to the body something that you may or may not get. And if you do get it, you may or may not survive.
Yes.
So it's just all these hypotheticals, and we're injecting all these toxins and God knows what into the body, into our bloodstreams.
Yeah.
That's affecting us long term. God knows how much, for things that we may or may not, and this or that might happen. Well, guess what? We do all of that for it. They're called immunizations, but guess what? There's a whole system called the immune system that it was designed for that very purpose. Yes. It's so simple, but that's just the way God works. Like, the answer is so simple, and it's right in front of us, and it's so basic that we overlook it.
Yeah, I was, and when Hernan explained that to me, I just realized how backwards my thinking was, when in fact I was living my life, building up and knowing that my immunities were strong. I didn't have to take. As a matter of fact, I believe that just by consuming all these chemicals and stuff like that my body is relying on these chemicals to fight it off, that I wanted my body to fight it off as far as I could. And, I mean, I got COVID and I took the ivermectin and the budesonide because, I mean, it's a pretty strong thing that came into our systems. We were subjected to it. All right, now I want everybody to get educated. I'm going to announce right here and right now. Remember how excited I was when I was on the phone with you? You see why? I mean, Callie she's my girlfriend. You know, my lovely bride. She doesn't get jealous when I say that. She knows how I'm the patriarch of the family over I have dominion over the fur people. I love them. This effort right now with Pet Club 247, you founded it. I want to learn as much as I can and be an advocate and make it my number one advocacy for all of our viewers because I do love life and I do love my fellow human beings. I have no business staying in independent media. It's not CNN. They have, tens of millions of dollars that come from Big Pharma. We don't, we operate on faith and fumes, and I'm the wealthiest, happiest person on planet Earth in that regard. So I'm announcing here, this is my top initiative. It's a continuation of everything we've been doing since 2011 when we began this thing. So I want you, in the final moments here, give everybody marching orders. Here are the first steps you're going to take. Of course, I hope you like my little URL. I know you guys gave me a great one. It's Pete Santilli, right? The Pete Santilli part. But when people are driving down the road, they're listening to me, just remember this, PeteLovesLife.com. PeteLovesLife.com. You'll be able to go back to it, and it'll land at Pet Club 247. What's the first thing that people do? There is an encyclopedia of information. It's not just buying products, the resources, the testimonials. I mean, you have everything you need to back up everything that we've said, right? So guide everybody. Tell us, what do we do?
Yeah, if you want to learn more, there are videos, there are research articles, there are just so many resources that can help us. We feel like well-informed people make better decisions. So there's a lot of information there that's designed to help people make better choices regarding being a voice for their pets, because our pets don't have a voice. They're completely dependent on us to make good decisions for them. So all of that is there. But if you're like us and you just feel in your spirit, like God has just kind of put something in your gut, like, I need to try this right away, either for yourself or maybe someone that you love or care about, you can just click on the Shop Now button right when you go to PeteLovesLife.com. There's a Shop Now, and that will show you the options that are available for dogs, cats, horses, even the human options will all be right there. And there are very detailed descriptions that will probably answer a lot of your questions right there on the spot. But again, we're just encouraging people, let's take back control again. Let's put the ball back in our court so we can go out and truly change the way that pets and people are being treated. And every pet, every person, every day, let's start eating this mushroom and getting into our systems.
I have a silly question because, you know what, before we made this discovery here, everyone listening to our voice, have they never heard of the mushroom? Okay. Well, we've got a lot of luggage. Maybe we've got some damage that we've done. As far as reversing the damage that we've done, like myself, I felt a sense of anxiety that, I'm getting older. I just want to make sure I'm proactive. And I don't know what I've done. I mean, who knows what I've done internally? We don't find out until it's too late. The hospitals love that, right? So I want to be proactive. Do you have testimonials of, okay, somebody just had something and they carried it their entire life and into their 50s and 60s, and they took this and it reversed the course they were on? You see testimonials in that regard?
Plenty of them.
Plenty
of them.
Okay.
Just it really, again, it's not the mushroom, again, is not curing or mitigating or preventing, but what it does is gets the immune system working effectively, and it's capable of resolving. We've heard the most craziest of things that people have experienced, and especially in our pets as well. It's just been tremendous. And, if the viewer was saying, okay, guys, what would you recommend? I would recommend, first and foremost, what is called the super sauce, which is a handmade gravy. It has chondroitin, carotene, glucosamine, and they're all natural, which most people are paying, $12 to $25 to buy separately to give to their animals. It has the mushroom in it as well. And the feeding instructions we've got treats with a supplement in it. It's just so important to get this into the system of our animals as quickly as possible.
I believe
and,
that.
And you'll notice the results. That's the great thing about it. It's just real exciting. Yeah.
So you know what? The answer to my question, right? Because how do I reverse? It's not reversing. Over time, my immunities may have suffered some damage, right? My body's ability to be able to fight back on stuff has been weakened. We didn't have, when I was born, they didn't have a Fauci manufactured, self-replicating chimeric parasite with snake venom peptides, right? We weren't designed per se. So the answer to the question is back to the immunity. And that's not like wiggling our way out of it to say, oh, we're not going to state that we cure stuff. It's our immunities, folks.
You're going to feel 10 years younger on this thing. I'm telling you right now.
I could certainly use that.
You will. The energy you'll feel, you won't believe it. It just, I feel like I'm in my early 40s again. I feel amazing. I do things that she'll tell you, our nieces and nephews
playing kickball
and just
football.
It's an amazing feeling that you get.
I'm on this journey. Our viewers are. We get feedback. This is my number one priority, period. I'm stating this right up front. And you'll see that, my advocacy. Listen, when 14 days to flatten the curve, I was not a medical expert, and I stayed in the trenches to inform the public. And now we're one of the, you can call Dr. Peter McCullough, the top cardiologist. He was in the room with a board that said, Pete Santilli stayed with it, educated his audience, and I became one of the most knowledgeable as to who specializes in certain. And he's one of the top cardiologists in the world. And I'm not a medical professional. So when I make a commitment like this is important. I love life. So can we bring you back on for future segments where I may have more questions, that I make more discoveries and get more testimonials? Can we bring you back on?
Yeah, we can share testimonials. We can even bring a testimonial on,
Yeah, that'd be great. And in the spirit of entrepreneurism and word of mouth, I love the fact that with direct marketing, it's like us locking our arms. We're the ones that are in charge. We're going to share the truth about the Coriolis versicolor mushroom within our communities. And who cares what the media is saying or not saying, or what the internet does or doesn't do. Kurt and Kristen Ludlow, can I ask you something? This is the first time we visited. How did I do for being so overly excited about the discovery?
Well, you're incredible to talk to, but I just love your authenticity. You're just so passionate. You're so authentic. And it's refreshing in a world where so much is manufactured, and, you're just raw and real and to the point. And we appreciate that. And the world needs more Pete Santillis out there speaking the truth. We're so grateful for.
We all have it. We all have it, folks. Like when somebody says, oh, I had a conversation with God. What I hear from that, and I relay to everybody else, God's directed me this way. That person is no different than us. We all have that power. And that's the message, the optimism and the spirit, that we have in us. It's available to all of us. I always ask God to push out all the negative, and he just fills me up. And I'm inconquerable, impenetrable. You cannot bring us down, right?
Unshakable, unbreakable, unstoppable.
That's right. That's right. Kurt and Kristen, I'm so glad we connected. Thank you very much for coming on. Thank you so much. All right. You guys, to talk about an advocacy, all right, just way beyond an advocacy. I love life. I know you do. And I use that. I'm going to coin that term, okay? Referrals. That's hilarious. I was cracking up when they were talking about referrals. I was like, oh, they're huge advocates for. I was looking at my fur people who they're on their MyPillow pet beds right here in the studio, and I'm like, referrals. That's hilarious. Very furry people there. So you know what? Through referrals, word of mouth. Let's get the word out. Share this information as if our lives depend on it, because they do. Everybody that tunes into this show and has tuned into the show, you love Cooper, the talk show dog that you've heard me talk about and have him barking in the background since 2011. We kept him in the studio. There's people that I spoke with that are angel investors that said, I mean, it sounded like they knew who Cooper was, and it was the first time I had ever spoken to them. We love our pets. We love each other. And we love, of course, just treating the subverters and those that aren't as loving like a bunch of road cones that deserve to be just biffed off the side of the road. And it's happening now. Everybody can feel it. This golden era is upon us. What does it mean? Boy, oh boy, I think we're still yet to determine what the true definition of a golden era is. I think that I'm so optimistic about our future that I'm not going to predict certain things for the next day. I'm going to plant the seed and lay every paving stone to make absolutely certain that when we arrive upon it, I can look back and say that I had a part in it. That's where our strength is going to be. So I hope you guys enjoyed this segment. I hope you learned something new. I certainly have, since my good friend for the past several years, Hernan, brought this to me. And I spoke to Kurt and Kristen, and you could just feel it in their spirit. And I said, all right, come on, how soon can you come on? That's why I brought them on. So, ladies and gentlemen, I thank you for tuning in. Share this far and wide. Please do that. I'm going to break away here until tomorrow morning. Join us first thing in the morning. It's going to be overwhelming. I'm looking at the live feed right now. President Trump announced, you ready for this? I didn't make a prediction. I just said the power of what he's about to do, the power of the technology that's coming about, of course, and the energy sources that we have. He is now announced Stargate, a new AI infrastructure initiative. There's good and bad things associated with AI, but we as Christians, you don't run away from that. If you think that AI is not going to be as Christian as you would like, let's demand that we Christians actually have it baked into the algorithm, that AI follows the 10 Commandments, and goes by the scriptures. I mean, it's going to be a tough fight, of course, to make them do that. But why can't we? We got to have a say-so in it. Why can't we make, AI follow the 10 Commandments and not make it the 10 suggestions and have them interpret it in their version of it? Let's have a say-so in it. And guess what? I also want to provide you with the ability to have some privacy. We have a public life and we have a private life. I believe that everybody deserves to go into their house, go into their restroom and close the door. What's Pete doing in there? I don't know. He's brushing his teeth, taking a shower, staring at himself in the mirror in private. I believe we all have a right to that privacy in our private lives. Or we go into our the bedroom. We get changed for bed. Close the blinds. We don't have AI peering in. Same thing applies on the internet. So don't resist this. Let's benefit from the technology and in some cases, weaponize it towards evil and use it for the greater goods. We shall have dominion over AI. And if I can get a big amen to that, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to end on that note. Thank you for joining me on this very special broadcast going into overtime. We'll see you guys tomorrow at 8 a.m. I can't wait to find out about Stargate. Wow. Bye, everybody.
Welcome to the circus.
Am I